Hey guys, today we'll be reacting to a video called 7 Things I Had Never Seen Before I Came to the USA, and I'm actually so excited to get into this video because I've always wanted to go to the USA, but I've never been. So these are probably things that are also new to me, so I'm excited to see what we get here. Let's get into the video.
Hey, do you think we could stop by an ATM? I need to get some cash. Yep, sure. There's one right over there, actually. And here we go. Here, give me your card. Wait, what is this place?
What?
Hello, servus, and welcome.
If there's drive-through ATM machines and I didn't know this, then I've been living under a rock.
Welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Felicia. I'm originally from Munich, Germany, but since the fall of 2016, I've mainly been living here in Cincinnati, Ohio. And during that time, I've had lots of experiences with cultural differences, as you guys know, since that's what this channel is mainly about. And some of those experiences were situations where I was like, what is that? Or what is this thing for? Which often made me sound like a little child discovering the world for the first time, but that's pretty much what it was, because there were quite a few things that I had never seen in my 22 years of living in Germany, and that's what this video is gonna be about. So here are 7 things I've never seen before I came to the US. The first thing on my list is drive-through ATMs. And before I continue, I just want to give a disclaimer for the whole video. These are my personal experiences. I'm sure some of these things do exist in Germany somewhere. I'm sure there is a drive-through ATM somewhere, but I personally, growing up in Munich, I had never seen that before I came to the US. And here, it's a pretty common thing, just like anything drive-through in the US. Drive-through pharmacies, coffee shops, liquor stores. And I've heard that there's even...
How is there a drive-through liquor store? And how is that safe? Oh my god. That is actually crazy to me.
a drive-through wedding chapel in Las Vegas. So just a couple weeks after I first came to Cincinnati for my exchange semester in 2016, I was in the car with a few friends and we were on our way to this event hosted by the university with a concert and food trucks, and we wanted to get some cash before we got there. So my friend said we're stopping by an ATM on the way there, and I was mind blown when we pulled into this drive-through ATM a few minutes later and we could get cash without even leaving our car. I was like, wow, Americans really don't like to walk. I had never gotten cash from a
Okay, but neither do I, so I'm all for that, honestly.
car before, but since then I've done it many times myself, and I do have to say it is very convenient. The second point on my list has to do with driving as well, and that's because people just drive a lot more in the US than they do in Germany, especially compared to more urban areas in Germany. Here in the US, except for major cities like New York, cars are the main way of getting around. Distances are long because this is just a huge country, public transportation is pretty poor or doesn't exist at all, and people can drive at the age of 16, which is pretty important here because in most places you really wouldn't be able to get around otherwise, and you would be dependent on your parents forever. So it's very common in the US to drive everywhere, and even in bigger cities here in the Midwest, like Cincinnati, you won't see many people walk or take a bike or public transportation. And with that also comes that you'll see people stand at stoplights, sometimes even in the middle of the street on the median with a sign held up. And when I first saw that, I automatically thought it was a hitchhiker. So I was like, wow, there's lots of hitchhikers in Cincinnati, until I realized that they were really homeless people, and on the signs, they were describing their situation and asking for money. So what you'll see is that when a driver is waiting at a red light and wants to give them money, they'll just roll down their window and the person will walk up to the car and take it. And of course, it's not like I had never seen homeless people or people asking for money in Germany, but in Munich, you'll usually see them on the sidewalks, in the pedestrian area, in subway stations, or wherever people might walk by rather than at stoplights.
That's actually really sad. But I have to say, I live in Spain and we do have these type of people here as well. Usually they'll do something like a little juggling show or something, and then people will give them money. But one thing I do need to mention is that giving driving, like 16-year-olds driving, to me is absolutely insane. Like, at least where I live, and also in Finland, I just would not think that a 16-year-old is responsible enough to be driving a whole car. But I mean, I don't know how, if people are raised different, what it is, but I just wouldn't imagine that here, honestly.
Before we move on to the next point, I'd like to thank today's sponsor, Skillshare. If you don't know about it yet, Skillshare is an online learning community that offers thousands of classes where you can either discover new skills, or you can deepen existing passions, new soft skills for your everyday life, or get in.
I don't want to know about Skillshare.
With that, let's move on to the third thing on my list that I had never seen before I came to the US, and that is koozies. They look like this and are a pretty normal household item here. I'd say most people have at least one of these at home. Many.
What? Okay, I'm gonna guess what it is before she says. It looks like something you would put a coffee mug in to keep it warm. Yeah, that's my guess. It's like it's, you know, when you have well, actually, aren't coffee cups already made to keep the drink warm? Nah, that's still my guess. It's a thing you put the cup into, and then it keeps your drinks warm. Yes.
Many people have dozens of these at home, but I personally had never seen that before I came here, and I had no clue what they were for when I first saw them. But as you can see, I do have some koozies myself now, because they're a pretty popular giveaway item and merch item, and they're mostly used when people drink beer or other alcohol. You put your can or a bottle in this thing, and that way your drink stays cool, especially in the summer. I've actually mentioned koozies in my video on alcohol culture, and in that video I said that they keep your hand from getting cold, since drinks here are usually extremely cold, and I said that because that's the only reason I've ever used them, but the official purpose is actually to keep your hand from warming up the drink and not the other way around. So I just want to get that straight. Why don't we have them in Germany? I'm not 100% sure, but I'd assume that it's because we're not afraid of our drinks getting warm as much as Americans are, and we also don't drink out of cans a lot, and I believe that cans warm up faster than bottles. This one I actually didn't really notice until
What did I just read?
2018, when I got my master's at the University of Cincinnati and taught German there at the same time, because when I did my exchange semester in 2016, I never actually had a class in a normal classroom because the program was called Electronic Media, and I mostly just took video and audio production classes that were taught more in a studio setting. But then when I taught German 2 years later, my classes took place in normal standard classrooms, and that's when I noticed these things on the walls. Most classrooms have one of these attached to the wall, and I was completely lost at first as to what this is until I saw someone use it for the first time, and it's a pencil sharpener. And before you ask, yes, we do have pencil sharpeners in Germany too, but it's not very common for German students to write with a pencil in school. I've actually talked a little more about that in this video, and therefore pencil sharpeners aren't really a thing that students need after elementary school. And even in elementary school, I've never seen a pencil sharpener on the wall in Germany. The students just have their own sharpeners. Again, I'm sure somewhere in Germany you can find these on the wall too, or maybe it used to be a thing back in the day, but I personally had never seen this item before I came to the US, and here it seems to be a pretty standard thing in classrooms.
That is so weird.
Whether it's spray butter, spray oil, or even spray cheese, Americans have some interesting food items here that I had definitely never seen before, And especially the spray stuff threw me off a little in the beginning. Spray butter and spray oil are things that I've seen in a lot of American households. Maybe that's just because of the widespread fear of fat here, and people think that with regular butter and oil they're gonna get too much of it. I'm not sure, but again, I've never seen that in Germany, and to most Europeans I've talked to, that seems pretty unnecessary. I mean, why not use your regular oil and butter? And the sprayed cheese, I don't even know what to say to that, but in general, there's lots of things that Americans call cheese that aren't actually cheese, so that's just something that I had to get used to.
Oh, I wish she showed like how a spray cheese works, because I imagine it like spray paint, you know, but cheese. And it sounds disgusting.
This is something you see on the streets a lot.
Sorry for any spray cheese lovers.
That I feel like is probably not even allowed in Germany, and it's these huge pickup trucks with dual wheels in the back. In general, there are a lot of pickup trucks on American streets compared to Germany, and just so many huge cars and SUVs that wouldn't even fit through all the streets in Germany. But the dual wheels really are something that, to me, seems like the epitome of this whole land of extremes vibe of the US. And I often even see this in the city, where it doesn't even seem like the person actually needs a truck, let alone dual wheels. So I guess some people just have it because they can.
I would have that just because I can, and I've never ever seen any car with those type of wheels before, but
and the last point on my list has to do with cars again, and this one goes back to the fact that in Ohio and most other states, they don't have car inspections that your car has to pass in order to keep the registration. In Germany, we have a pretty strict inspection every 2 years called TÜV, and that's the reason why you hardly ever see damaged cars on German streets. Maybe you'll see a dent here and there or some rust, but in the US, you'll see beaters, so broken cars all the time. You know, cars that look like they just got out of an accident, where there's the bumper missing or half of the hood or the side mirror. And that was definitely something that shocked me in the beginning, to see cars like that on the highway, because it's just not something you'll ever see in Germany.
Oh, they're driving. Okay, that's actually crazy.
My list of things I have never seen before I came to the US. Of course, these were just a few points of many, so let me know if you'd like to see more videos like this. And of course, I also want to know...
I can tell that America has some pretty crazy things going out there. I mean, I wish we had the drive-through ATM machines and stuff like that, because that sounds incredible. That just sounds incredible. I would just have to walk down to my car, to the ATM machine, and that's it. Not walk for miles to find one. But one thing though, the spray cheese, you can have that. That's all yours. Let me know in the comments below if you use spray cheese, what does it taste like, and like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.